box has a brand new pack of cards. Let's see what's inside.
Hey guys, welcome back to another pack opening with Zach opening. We're going to be looking over not a pack today, but a list on the internet of new cards that have been printed. Zach's been spending a lot of time with them. I've never seen them before.
But there's some good cards in here, so I think you'll change your mind on other people designing things for the game.
But let's get started. So we have Bonner for the Good Commander. I've never seen that before, except on Lord Commander. He's got Knight and 7 support, so I can see that going well with some Tully cards. Each non-neutral to 7 character you control gains insight. Insane ability. But what's interesting to me is that he's locked into a faction that synergizes well with the idea of getting power that the 7 likes.
It doesn't have that much 7.
Doesn't have that many 7s. In fact, they have the Roller, which is a different religion, so this is a somewhat blasphemous card. This is a very interesting loyal 4-cost that absolutely changes the game if you're running the 7 deck. But what else are you going to do with that? I guess Baratheon things do like to gain power. The Starry Sept does synergize very well with Baratheons
That's
in
what
general.
I was thinking, Starry Sept for this.
Oh, and Davos is the 7 as well.
Oh yeah, he is.
And
King Davos. You could run him with a banner. You could run him with House of the Red Door, Starry Sept. Even without giving anyone else insight, I think it's still a strong card. All right, round 2. Godry the Giant Slayer. 2-cost, Strength X. Still 1.
Okay, so he's a Knight
Strength
and Roller.
equal to gold.
Yeah, this is very interesting, this bestow card. So you play him for 3, and he starts off with 1 strength. But then, if you can play other Knights or Rollers, he gains gold and therefore strength. And then if you get him up to 5, he gets intimidate. Just synergizes well with some of their attachments, like Warhammer, that gives them, if they have less than 5
well,
strength,
that's printed,
+2.
so he's only gonna get
That's what
+2
I'm saying.
strength.
So he's only going to get +2 strength, so the intimidate wouldn't be redundant.
Oh yeah, good point.
Yeah, this is really good because this is just card, and there are so many Roller events that you could just play right after this.
This is great with 4 costs.
And he is a Roller.
It's just such an efficient card for what is a Roller archetype. Roller?
Yeah, this is a card that can literally go either way. He's a Knight and he's a Roller. He's supported by Knights and Rollers. If you want to make a Knight Baratheon deck, which you totally can with the Florence, maybe with some Tyrells, you could totally do that and this guy would work. Or if you want to run him with Rollers, I think that would be able to turbo him to 5 strength intimidate with some cool events. I forget the name of it. It's one of their dominance cards that has to do with Rollers, where every standing Roller gets a power or something. Helps that card out a lot, which can be kind of clunky to play around. And honestly, very cool bestow design. I really like this card. I'm liking this so far.
Alright, left hand Lucas Cott, 4-cost, 3 strength, Bicon. Stealth, when no defenders are declared, give an attacking Raider a gold. And Raiders have been getting a lot of bestow support recently, which I know you haven't seen. But I think Stealth with 2 icons that Raiders love.
Stealth with 2 icons, and he has all the traits that any Ironborn would care about. Captain is arcane, but there are a few ones. Ironborn, obviously. And Raider, there is a little Raider support that I even know about already. There's an event that gives them stealth, so that doesn't matter. But yeah, it seems like there's more Raider support. I bet Botley Crew is going to be pretty good in the coming meta. If you're running this with things like Cersei's Informer or other just bestow cards. Oh, like Saltcliffe Sailor would really benefit from this card. Obviously, I think the condition is hilarious. Your opponent knows that you're just going to get an unopposed challenge with stealth, so they're not going to bother to declare, and then this makes them declare. It's probably going to be a waste. But,
yeah,
I mean, the penalty is kind of small. Oh, another bestow card and a Raider. Oh, poor Cragorn.
Yeah, they're really pushing the Raider.
Oh, I already can see what he does. So you get rid of it to search Dragonbinder. He's the guy who blows Dragonbinder.
But yeah.
And then Dragonbinder itself can search for any Ironborn character.
You can actually put Throwing Axe into play after declaring a challenge.
You could put Fishing Net into play. Well, Fishing Net is an item.
It's not into play attached to a character you control. It's just attached to a character, so you could do that totally.
This is a great card, and this is a great card lore-wise. Intrigue, though, I'm going to say bad choice because he was pretty dumb to blow that horn, and he died. On to Lannisters, we have Sir Adam Marbrand, another commander and a knight. After you get another army or knight card, similarly to the card we saw before, he gains a gold. Discard a gold from him to return a character that gets sent to your discard pile to your hand. This is very interesting because he's not a bestow card.
Yeah,
so you have to use other tricks or his own effect.
But there's a few cool tricks that you have here. Number 1, it works with Hear Me Roar. So, like, you keep your card advantage to some extent.
When he enters play, he's a knight card. He gives himself a gold.
For the first one, yeah.
So he does start with a gold, and that's once per phase. So you get that during marshalling, then you hear me roar to get 2. This is really cool. This would function well with the Targaryen deck because it's after a character enters your discard pile. If you're using something like Queen's Guard or so many of their other cards where you have just full liberty to do that and you're not necessarily waiting for a random intrigue challenge, that's busted. He's loyal as well. It's so interesting. Like, they're really adding to the loyal pool, and it's about time. The loyal pool hasn't been big, but I want to see what commander support there is. That's new. Harris Swift. I was always wondering, he's the master of coin in the books.
I love this card so far. So it's a knight, lord, and of course the best trait in the game, small council.
Council consents.
+1 gold, which I love on any card.
Every master of coin has a +1 gold.
And then move 1 gold from your gold pool to a card without gold. So,
that's great. And it's twice per round because of Cersei's Informer, which is in faction, or numerous other cards like Saltcliffe Sailor that then immediately move their gold onto other things. The Iron Bank, for example. This would be your way to replenish the Iron Bank, which normally becomes a dead card when it has 0 gold.
This gives you some functionality that I don't think is, quite frankly, fair, which is using the combination of this and Cersei's Informer.
I think the fact that he's a knight and a lord, small council notwithstanding, this card seems a little overpowered to me, I'm not gonna lie. Clearly they tried to nerf him by making him only have power, and that makes sense, he is an idiot. Him being a knight supports now already a ton of shit, but the stuff I've seen in this pack is insane. That's just a very helpful 4 cost +1 modifier and setup.
Tyrion's in this deck as well, remember that, he's also non-loyal. So any deck you're playing Sir Harris Swift in or out of the faction, you're going to be playing the Tyrion that gives you 2 gold from an intrigue, and then you get to immediately put that onto cards.
So I like this card. He has too many good traits, though, for him just being a general support and econ buffer for that cost.
This is a 10 out of 10 card. You're gonna
he
see
should
this
be
a lot.
5. He should be 5 cost at least. Melania of Norway. Okay, we got another Dornish lady, so right away I'm like, hell yeah, bring out Doran. Okay, he gains immune to opponent's plot effects. Great, love how it's opponent's plot effects, because obviously, you know, you've got a lot of plots. While she's in your hand, reduce the cost to marshal her by 1. That's not public information. That's helpful, though, because there is that 7 cost one that is really just not playable. Quentin Martell gets +2 strength. That's great. One of them has an effect that when he dies, you kill something based on how much strength he has, so that's very helpful. Trystane Martell gains insight. That's great. Trystane Martell is one of the low-cost lords. I love these cards, these Maester Lewins, that buff the specific members of the royal family of each house. Especially for Martells, where if you're playing Doran, there's not a lot of non-unique lords, if any, so you have to have all these wacky cards out, and you probably have like 1 copy of each.
This is a card that I actually don't really understand,
but
maybe you'll be able to help me with this.
Okay.
As a Doran Shadows person. It's obviously a Tricon, which is great, 3 costs, but a very forceful reaction, as it may be. Return into Shadows after card enters your use pile, so you're certainly not playing this in Rance.
Yeah, so he's another commander, so he's a Trigon that you can put on the board for 3 to 5.
With Renown, so you're going to want to keep him on the field if you can.
After a plot card enters your used pile, that counter supports at Prince Duran's behest, where you play that and then you play another plot card. As far as I'm concerned, there's no way to prevent your plot cards from going to the used pile within Dorne, and Dorne wouldn't want that. What I would do with this card is just pretend he doesn't have Renown. I would just splash him on. I'm not going to spend extra money on him because it's inevitable that he's gone in 2 turns anyway, at most. And then if I want to bring him out from Shadow every turn, I can. I mean, he's still a 2 cost, 4 strength Trigon that you can bring out in the middle of the phase. That's still busted.
Yeah, at least he's safe from board wipes and the like.
I mean, his stats are not fair. If you ignore the Renown, this card is broken. His Shadow cost is 2 for these stats whenever you want in the challenges phase, and then it just goes back. Like, there were an event that just let you, like, this becomes this icon for 2, that'd be very good.
That's a good point. Maybe I'll change my consideration.
I just think it's weird design with the Renown, where it's like, obviously, he's not designed to be used with Renown. He's designed to exist on the board ephemerally, so why would they give him that? Dywin,
nice
alright. 6 cost. We have a Ranger. Very good. Rangers need support. They're probably the worst of them.
And a very important passive, +1 reserve.
That is important for non-loyal because there is a pretty low cap on how much reserve you can get. My Night's Watch deck gets close to it. There's a Night's Watch army card that its strength is equal to your reserve value. So if you play high reserve cards and you get enough of these bonuses, especially from like a 2-cost Samuel Tarly or like a Rookery or whatever, that's great. But he is a 6-cost. He's got a very important icon that the Rangers are lacking in, which is Intrigue. He's got Stealth. There's not that many Night's Watchmen with Stealth.
It's a few that when you lose challenges get Stealth who are Rangers.
Yes, and there are ways to give Rangers Stealth.
Yeah.
If you obviously have the 6-cost version of Jon Snow and you give him Sworn to the Watch, he will have Stealth. He won't
The Wildling one already has Stealth.
The Wildling one also already has Stealth. And then also you can just swear things to the Watch if you want. If you're using the wall and you're just stealing shit from your opponent and turning it into things, if you're playing against Ironborn or something.
I considered this card for a very specific deck I was building, which was Lord of the Crossing Rangers, where you use the Haunted Forest Scout who doesn't kneel when you have a few Rangers. But he's just so expensive for that effect.
There's not...
I couldn't find space for this over other things in
He's
that
so
deck.
expensive, and then you also have to devote so much time to giving them Stealth, because not a lot of them naturally have it, and if they do, it's in a weird circumstance. There's a lot of ways where they can't be stealthed, like Fist of the First Men and Benjen, but that doesn't give them stealth. So this card is kind of whack and definitely made for a combo deck. It's really easy for them to turn other things Night's Watch. So if you make a combo deck that's like a Greyjoy stealth deck. Oh, and Greyjoy also plays with reserve a little bit. I see his place there. Leathers. All right, so a Ranger and a Wildling. Really good combination of trades.
This card gives you a ton of functionality. But read that second one.
Perfect. About time. There's Gilly and there's Craster. They are the only 2 Night's Watchmen that are Wildlings. There's some support synergy between them. Admittedly, not much. Oh, and there's, of course, Jon Snow. Jon Snow is the biggest bridge. He's a really cool version of Jon Snow, but he's the worst one because you can't. It's hard to run a half Wildling, half Night's Watch deck, and he has effects for both, and they're both good, but you want to use both of them. So this is amazing. Switching immediately to their affiliation.
That's not even all. Look at that last reaction.
Oh, and he's a searcher. Okay, and after he
any
enters
giant,
play,
reveal it and add it to your hand.
if you have like ways to like Journey to Old Town, for instance, a Night's Watch card that removes them from play until the next plot phase, you can make him re-enter play. A giant build is now single-handedly doable because now they're more than monogons.
Yeah, another one of the things that I've actually seen up close is in a Wildling neutral deck where you're just playing Last of the Giants.
Well, here's what I'm suggesting, right? Play this guy, 4 cost, search your deck for a giant. Play Last of the Giants, 2 cost, put the giant in play. The giant is a Wildling also, so the giant is now Night's Watch. Play Broken Vows, give the 8-cost giant to your opponent, take anything you want, and then the giant dies at the end of the phase.
I hadn't even thought about that.
Rickard Karstark. Okay, so House Karstark is apparently a trait now. Really looking forward to this one. Lord, cool.
Decent stats. 5 strength, nothing in it.
He's a 5/5 with the boring icons. I'd expect nothing less from a Stark loyal Lord. Kneel at the north location. Have each player's sacrifice character location. Synergizes well with Boltons and Starks in general.
Each player gets to pick, and all you have to do is kneel it. So you could kneel and obviously sacrifice the same location, but this is really meant to be played with his second effect. So this is
great.
A total attrition deck. You remove one thing every turn from their board that they have to pick, and it's sacrifice. So
I like this. Okay.
In addition to that, he gets it back. And then there's more cards that do this same thing, where each player sacrifices a character location.
Yeah, I like this card because he's kind of a self-combo, so in that way he's not really about synergy, but what's cool is, yeah, he does combo with himself, and supports Winter. You can also sacrifice other Stark characters to give characters like Robb and Catelyn power and stuff. Oh, and this would make King's Landing, the 4-cost version, so safe because you can just scry through locations every challenges phase. Then you can get them back with this guy. I like this card. He's very good. Let's see. Oh, Harwin. They've made some good choices of book characters. Bestow card. No attachments except Warhorse. Okay, yeah.
But
Harwin
really
is potentially the Hooded Man of Winterfell, so let's consider that. The most interesting about this is that it's a Stark roller. It's also a non-neutral Brotherhood, which is cool. During a challenge in which you control a participating non-loyal character, discard a gold. The Starks have a couple ways of doing this, and it's basically to make up for their lack of intrigue. You can make them participate in a challenge on your side without declaring them as an attacker. I think that's the point of it. I've seen it before.
With 2 or more keywords as well.
What you could potentially do with this is Tullies have a lot of the 7 cards, so if you give them all insight with a Stark Baratheon combo deck, that would help right away. While Hoster Tully is participating in a challenge, every Tully gets renown.
But he needs a second trait then.
Baratheons have things like Disputed Claim that would let you give things renown. I could see it. This guy requires some setup, and then he's a bestow card, so then eventually he's going to shut down. Man, I don't really know. I feel like there's a lot that we're not seeing because he is a brand new selection of traits in this faction. He's got a very strange ability, and it's restricted to non-loyal, so it's definitely encouraging you to run other Brotherhood cards. We'll see.
I don't know.
Resnack, Moresnack, great artwork. Ally Steward, another non-Night's Watch Steward. That's going to be great for your Rat Cook build.
I think you're going to like this card based on what you were saying about Marbrand as well, and Targaryens. I mean Marbrand.
I love this card. Targaryens already have the 5-cost event Unexpected Return, which puts something to play for your discard pile. Weirdly, in this game, it's easier to get things back from your dead pile than your discard pile, like to call up the Haunted them, to bring them back into play. And when you look at Targaryens that focus on discarding as a cost, your first thought is there a way I can use that to my advantage to bring them into play? And it's not easy. Unexpected Return is a 5-cost event. This guy is great. You build up his gold. You can start him with 3. That's very expensive, obviously.
Extremely
but
expensive.
He's searchable. It is very expensive, though. It's going to take a while, but not necessarily. If you discard twice per turn, which the Queen's Guard in itself can do, he gets 2 golds. That's going to stack.
You also have a lot of really efficient ones, like you have Missandei and Friedman and other cards that you don't need to use him for. And so
exactly.
Gold.
The problem is it only works on characters, so I think what he really would be best for is in setup, maybe. If you have the ability to liberally discard things from your hand, which is not a problem with Targaryens, and you happen to draw into something like Miriam Ezdur, for instance, being able to play for free on like the 3rd or 4th turn.
Yeah.
Think of it as like a Dorn type card. It seems like there's a lot of patience here.
You can also get this gold when you discard cards for reserve.
That's true.
In the
However, it is worth noting that this is only characters. It's not as guaranteed that you'll get 2 without giving something up as it seems.
Another one that I think you'll like, not a Lewin type, but very similar. Halden Half-Maester, the first Targaryen Maester, and a Half-Maester at that. He has the full Maester trait.
Fake Maester. So this dude's a Maester, and he's also a companion, so he's searchable in all sorts of different ways if you want to. Splash him into a conclave deck. After you win a challenge which is participating, reveal the top card of your deck. Okay, looking at top card of your deck, synergize with Old Town a lot. Same card type, you can bestow support.
Event, draw.
You can draw into an event, which is chill, because you might be able to just play that right away in the challenges phase. Or you can put Aegon Targaryen into play, which he will not come into play alone. You can get an army or mercenary come into play that turn. That's good lore with Aegon Targaryen. Jesus, can this man literally summon an army to your field? That's hilarious, and that's a huge heart of the cards moment. Otherwise, you gotta do event-focused decks, which Tarks have no problem with.
No.
Like, they love their events. They love reducing strength.
You could actually play mercenaries with this guy with all their bestow abilities.
Well, yeah, you would want to because you're playing Aegon.
To leverage both Aegon and the first one.
I just haven't seen, I think, all the new mercenaries. There were like 7 last I checked. But yeah, I mean, this guy's kind of, it's cool. Like, I think that it's cool that he exists, but having 3 different, pretty distinct effects is kind of weird.
I don't know. I think it gives him a lot of playability, and I think the fact that you can search him with Here to Serve.
You can search that first turn, and then he can either start setting up a bestow build, an event build, or not the Aegon.
I think it's going to be pretty cool. You'll have a lot of options.
And let's also not forget, if you combo this with Tyrells, they don't have a lot of mercenaries, but if you can use Baron the Maiden Fair, and getting that Aegon it's savage, and it seems like a savage, like, last minute move, but you could set it up, and it would make for a strong, albeit, brief turn. Orton Merryweather.
I love this card.
Is he not a card already? I love this card already. So he's a Lord and he's small council. His stats are disappointing, but he's got cool icons. Non-loyal Tyrell. And after any player marshals or plays a small council card, return an event from your discard pile to your hand, aka the council consents. And when he leaves play, put a non-unique spy character into play from your hand, such as Cersei's Informer. Well, I mean, there's a ton of spies.
In Tyrell.
Yeah.
So I'm running him as a cheap one-off lord in my Marjorie deck, because you kill him and he's a cheap unique lord compared to some of the other ones. The fact that he returns an event when he plays himself, because he's small council.
Yeah.
So even if you take back a Bear in the Maiden Fair or a Bounty of Highgarden or something crazy, you'll be doing fine. He'll basically pay for himself. And then you get to play a spy on top of it if you happen to draw one.
Let's not forget also that you can use him with Mace Tyrell.
It's only when he leaves play.
Yeah, when he leaves play. If you want to make a Tyrell spy deck, which I think would lean towards a shadow deck, and you could definitely do that. What I like about this card is that your opponent who doesn't care about the small council archetype probably doesn't realize that one or two of their ace cards might be small council, and this is after a player plays. Other than that, good card. Again though, weird disjointed synergy. It supports two different things, but it's very in line with Tyrell's. Oh, Sir Mcqueen. Yes. Oh, they're bringing back the Rainbow Guard. Okay.
We see the improvement of both Kingsguard and Rainbow Guard. So this guy's going to get some play.
And finally, a low-cost Kingsguard that's lower than Eris Oakard, who is 4 for the white book decks. Bestow 1. Okay, so maybe 3 cost. Okay, yeah, so you can raise the claim. This is kind of busted. I mean, even if you don't have wacky ways of putting more gold on him, which I assume you can do.
See, I actually don't think this is that busted unless you have ways to put more gold on him and really take advantage of this effect. Because, I mean, you have Dreadfort Maester and a bunch of other cards that increase claim by sacrificing themselves. But he's unique.
I don't know, dude. I think if you have 1 or 2 other cards that increase your claim, it's not absurd that your opponent would clear their field on the second turn if they have 3 things they have to kill. That's with military. That's asking for kind of an early board wipe, but you'd still have to win, and it's all telegraphed, and you would lose a guy who's.
I mean, without that, he's just a monocon. So if he somehow loses his military, or you can't do a military challenge, this is just a useless card.
No, that's not true, because it's after you initiate a challenge, he doesn't have to be participating. So what I like about this card is that you can attack with him, and then later on, if you want to increase the claim for something else, you can if you really want. If you want to push for power and you don't care about killing Mcqueen, I mean, you can sleep at night. Oh, Vargo Hold! I knew that I said in my cards we should have.
Here's your answer to how you put the gold on him.
Bestow after card with bestow on display against 1 gold. I love that. That's very, very, very helpful. He triggers himself, so even if you don't bestow him, he gets a gold. It's twice per phase. He's also a mercenary. You can pull him out with Aegon, move 1 gold to a character with 2 or less gold, and he gains their keywords. That's great. He's probably going to gain bestow.
I mean, this is great support in basically every deck we've seen.
This is just a neutral card that says, hey, bestow was a keyword, now it's an archetype. This is really the type of linking leader of a bestow deck that they needed.
The fact that this is neutral means every bestow deck now has a bunch of combos that you can play in it. Move gold to cards that don't have it. You can play Saltcliffe Sailor. You can play that left-handed God. You can play a ton of stuff now that this card makes possible.
This card is really insane. And if a card needs the gold, you can put it on it, but if it doesn't have bestow, it probably has 2 or less gold. So you can either help something with bestow, or you can just give this fucking 5 strength Trigon Intimidate if you have something. Even if something has no attachments, there's nothing that says you can't put gold on this. There is no card you have that's going to be an exception. You can just get any keyword that you have on the board at no cost, and possibly at.
Well, here's the question: can you move it to one of your opponent's characters and get their keywords?
Yeah,
because that's fun as well.
It says to a character with 2 or less gold.
Yeah, so you have optionality here with it, and the gold doesn't benefit them that same way.
Yeah,
it's not a power, it's not Starry Sept.
No, they're just why are you putting shit on my cards? Okay, Valerian, the Black Dread. Ambush 2, no attachments except cat.
So you could give him Sir Pounds.
Catception, I guess. This is ridiculous. Neo Valerian to discard a gold from we have anti-bestow.
I mean, it can't be killed, so that's just amazing, just to start.
So Valerian can't be killed, so what you're going to want to do is, you can do this in just a Tyrell deck with an agenda if you want to. Play Valerian for cheap, give him Sky Cell, and then use Mathis Rowan, and then give it to your opponent. So that's great. I love this card for that reason. I also think lore-wise it's hilarious. He's a true king in the castle. And then a little bit of anti-bestow. It's kind of reminds me of old Bill Bone.
It has that same 2-cost ambush.
Yeah,
I think this is a great card. Yeah. And then to tie it all together, free companies.
I like this. I like the downside, and I like the flexibility of the upside. You can soar mercenaries to the top, or you can just, any card that doesn't have gold, you can put gold on it.
Keep in mind, this is also only neutrals, so if you're playing like a banner bestow deck, this has no downside at all. Basically, it's just a free extra bestow that you can use at any point during the
Yeah, because this is great. No, this is what bestow really needed, because bestow was a keyword, like intimidate was a keyword. It told you what a card did, but there were some cards that suggested a way to support each other, but it was not feasible really in a deck building capacity. Shadow had 2 of its own agendas that came out that were designed to just support that keyword, and now bestow feels like a lot more linked together. Between this and Vargo Hote, bestow is legit now.
We're gonna see some unbridled generosity being played inside.
Oh yeah, Begging Brothers is coming back into the meta as everybody's favorite negate. This is a very good agenda. It's not a very flexible agenda. I mean, it's flexible, but it's a bestow agenda.
You ready for this?
Bestow cards.
Here's my thought. You only need 1 really. So if you're playing Lannister and you're playing this banner, you play Case Merchant. All of a sudden, this is a no downside aloof and apart.
Okay, fair.
You could play it with Cersei's Informer.
Of course.
And then you get a mill in addition to that 2 gold.
Yeah, I mean, there are bestow cards that are good, and like, I mean, I wasn't trying to diss the card. I think it's a cool card. It just seems more like a conclave type card than like a Sea of Blood type card.
Yes.
It's a deck building agenda, really. And you can't nail your faction card anymore, so you can't use, I don't know. All right, final card, plot card, the Pointy End. It's a steam, so
and it's a war.
And
so
it's
you
a
get to
war,
reveal it
so
twice if you need to with Tyrion's Chain.
Yeah, Tyrion's Chain or Reigns. And now you need war cards for the wars to come, apparently. Choose a character, it's a when revealed, and if they have 2 or more attachments attached to it, discard them. Otherwise, get rid of all its duplicates and its power.
This is now going into every single Reigns deck.
This is pretty...
So far, when I've played against this, it feels like the Pointy End. It like has a specific use. You know, I was playing the Catelyn Star Turbo, and I Velared 1 turn because I had 3 bodyguards and they removed all of my power. And
that's so funny though, because like a double bodyguard is now a legit play, because that's the only way to stop them from getting rid of the power from it.
Well, milks and a bunch of other stuff. You know, if they milk your character and it has 2 attachments now, they really have to invest into that one character. You can't just speed a bunch of power onto them because you know this is coming as a potential tool.
Yeah, no, because this can work for you or against your opponent. It's got a good amount of gold.
I mean, it removes bodyguards and dupes if they don't have 2 attachments.
That's also true. This is like the appetizer to your Valar main course, really.
Yeah,
so this guarantees that no matter how well you play, you're never safe, and you shouldn't get attached to anything. I like these cards, I have to say. I think some of them are trying to do too many things at once. Overall, yeah, but this was great for bestow. I like bestow, and I really like Cersei's Informant, so I'm going to try and maybe make a deck with these after I figure out how to get these onto cardstock.
Oh yeah, I can help you with that, so
that would be great. But all right, thank you guys for having us.
That was Forgotten Heroes, and we have a few more packs.
And there's more, and if you haven't heard about these before, there's going to be a link in the description where you can see all the brand new cards. Play with your friends. Sponsored by the Conclave.